3, 2, 1, hit it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to our Top 8 coverage of the World Championships of Magic 2010 with Rich Hagan and Proto Historian Mr. Brian David Marshall. We are going to get underway with Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa of Brazil. You see him there in his quest for Player of the Year up against Great Britain's Jonathan Randle. That is our quarterfinal kickoff. There you see Randle, 28 from Chester, England. Had a tremendous run, former national champion. And the matchup here, BDM blue-black for Paulo, blue-white for Randle.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of control mirrors in this top 8. This is one of the few that we see a little variation in the color palette. We see some white from Jonathan Randle, but the white is going to be a little tricky. You know, he's positioned really to take advantage of creature decks. And not well positioned for the mirror. Game 1 anyway, with 4 ousts.
So that looks like preordained for Randle, and
it's going to be preordains.
Pair of preordains. Preordained, by the way, was the first card played in Brad Nelson's Worlds 2010. Now, is Player of the Year preordained for him? I wonder. He has a little while to wait to find out.
Pair looks like a creeping tar pit and a drowned catacomb. For Paulo and an island for Jonathan Randle.
You see Jace the Mind Sculptor in Paulo's hand. Mana Leak on the left, old school Mana Leak. He hasn't gone with the M11 version. That was a beating over a decade ago. And there you get a little look at Eric Froehlich and Guillaume Matignon. They're getting underway in their match, and in the background you see Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. And now we're back with Paulo and Jonathan.
Spreading Seas has landed on a creeping tar pit.
It's funny the way the community embraced Spreading Seas, the fact that it was such a joke to start with, and it takes someone like Jerry T to come along and say, by the way, you are aware how utterly amazing this is.
So Inquisition of Kozilek from Paulo is going to see Mana Leak, Oust, Baneslayer Angel, Baby Jace, and 2 lands.
In the back table, Christopher Wolf has a mana advantage of 9-2 in that one. I'd say Wolf not actually is 9-2 behind. Janse, of course, has 9 mana in the Eldrazi against blue-black control. Whether he will be able to force through things to do with his much mana, I guess he can say at least the Emrakul won't get countered.
Right. Paulo took the Baby Jace, it looks like. That's Jace Beller, and there are 6 Jaces in Jonathan's deck. One of the things he felt was an advantage for him in this matchup is all of his planeswalkers, which he felt were very good in the mirror.
I mean, he has a real bunch here. You've mentioned the 6 Jace, and then
he has 6 Jace, 2 Elspeth TRL, and 2 Gideon Jura.
So Paulo is going to go once again to Inquisition land.
He's like, what'd you draw? Oh, another Mana Leak, number 3.
And 1 will go away.
He's like, you can keep the Oust.
Really? Oh, sigh. Paulo then taps 2. And there's going to be Spreading Seas back the other way.
On the Sea Chrome Coast.
Randle draws. Looks like he's drawn another Baneslayer there. Going to lay Tectonic Edge. Is there any scenario in this match where the tectonic edges become super relevant?
They're always relevant. I mean, the control matchups are all about mana. Right? It's all about being able to play threats and defend them with counter magic. And so, whoever has the most mana in these scenarios often wins.
Well, Paulo is going to preordain. He is sitting with multiple mana leaks as well, and that's a case in point where how much mana have you got left?
Yeah.
Not quite 3.
Pushes both his cards.
And then draws Drew into a land, which he lays.
Looks like a Dark Slick Shores. Comes into play tap because there's already 3 lands in play.
That was one that people had a while to get used to, the idea that the second one and the third one was okay, and it was once you had 3. Another nice variant. Sounds like Guillaume Matignon is in pretty decent shape in the first game up against Eric Froehlich. He has more creatures in play than the vampires, which is not what you'd expect necessarily, and also has more life. So that sounds like pretty good news early on for French fans. Matignon in okay shape against Froehlich game 1.
Those creatures can only be Grave Titans, Grave Titan tokens, or Seagate Oracles.
I guess one's hoping that they're Grave Titan and tokens. So Paulo lays.
Don't be surprised if we cut over to that match.
Indeed.
At some point.
3 mana, Seagate Oracle. And we're well aware, of course, that Randle has counters for that. And if we're aware, you can be certain that Palavita Damo de Rosa is aware. So we may see a little bit of attacking for the first time in Worlds 2010 Sunday. That red zone could be a little bit barren today. May not see a huge amount of turning sideways.
19 turns.
Clock. Randle lays another land there. You see he's got a ton of mana there. He's got the Spreading Seas on his Seachrome Coast.
There's your attack for 1.
Yep. It's always a nice touch of Worlds. You see the flags on the end of the table, the Brazilian and the Great Britain Union Jack. In the background, Froehlich up against Matignon. Paulo looks to tap 3, just assembling his mana. And for 3, what have we got? It's interesting, Paulo has a reputation as one of the fastest players on tour, but he can take his time to think when he needs to.
Yeah. He's going to keep tapping the mana until it feels right.
Yep. And there's Seagate Oracle number 2, which again Randle is fine with. And I can tell you that the first game of the day is done. Guillaume Matignon of France, with his blue-black control deck, leads Eric Froehlich by 1-0. He got ahead on life, got ahead on creatures, and it's hard to get back from that with vampires. So game 1 to Matignon. You have a look at Randle's hand there. There's a Baneslayer Angel, the mana leak. He's just going to pass back to Paulo.
Sounds like it was a Grave Titan from Guillaume Matignon that did the heavy lifting.
It tends to do that a little bit better than Seagate Oracle. Well, certainly a little quicker.
It's like, I hope you don't mind. I invited some friends over.
Yeah. Mana leak, cancel, Jace TMS. Attack for 2. Preordain for Randle. So coming to his hand, which he's going to cast now, and yes, that's absolutely fine. Well, looked like there was an Elspeth Tyrrell in what he had a look at. Fans out his cards.
I like to call it Elspeth Total Request Live.
That's awesome. I've not heard that one before. Is that your very own?
Yeah, it is my very own.
I like that. Hi, you're through to Elspeth Tyrrell. How may I help you? Again, please, Rashad.
Sounds like Grave Titan has taken down another game on the back tables. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa up 1-0 on Lukas Jaklovsky. You know, people were talking a lot about Primeval Titan coming into this event. They were talking about Inferno Titan in the Jerry Thompson Valakut deck. Certainly Frost Titan was kind of a big deal. Grave Titan has been kind of quiet. It was certainly a card people were very excited about when it first came out, and now it's had sort of a coming out party this week at the highest level of play.
It's surprising, really, because you would think that 10 power of guys, 6 mana, were quite exciting if it then became 14 power of guys. Yeah, it does actually seem quite good. So you see the Seagate Oracles, 1,000,000 mana on either side. If you like land art, you're going to see plenty of it today. That is for sure. Baneslayer, Elspeth Tyrrell, Oust. I'm going to need to be a bit louder, Richard, sorry.
So it sounds like we have yet another game result.
Yeah, now what happened there, this is Christopher Wolf with blue-black control against Lova Janse from Sweden playing Eldrazi. The update was 9 mana to 2 in favour of Janse, but as we said, what's he going to be able to do with it? Well, not enough apparently, because the Grave Titan gives the Austrian the lead 1-0. Now, big news here, we have Jonathan Randle going for Baneslayer Angel. And you would imagine we're about to see something of a counterspell war.
He can mana leak, he can pay, and then he can mana leak again.
So there is mana leak number 1 from Paulo Vida Damo de Rosa.
It's like, do you want to pay? Would you like to give me another card? What do you want to do here? It's not clear to Jonathan what he wants to do. It's not clear if he wants to pay and try to duress another mana leak or cancel out of Paulo's hand.
I mean, at that point, you're ahead. You've spent 1 card and your opponent's cast 2, even though they're not hugely exciting in the late game. You're still up a card, if you will.
Right.
But at the point at which you just go, well, I'm going to have a Baneslayer and you're going to have a mana leak, that doesn't feel a particularly stellar exchange. Randle at 12. Cancel and mana leak sitting in Paulo's hand, plus consume the Meek.
Looks like he is gonna pay.
Seems reasonable.
Says, please give me another card, or Doomblade for my Angel.
And Paulo, looking at his choices, will run out mana leak number 2. One presumes. Yeah. And so John says, yep, fine. Away you go. You can have a turn. What are you doing with it?
He's like, and I still have all this mana for all these.
So Paulo gives himself a little bit of time to think before he untaps.
Is he thinking about a tectonic edge on a tectonic edge? Yes, he is.
He is indeed. So he gets a little bit of value there. Set Randle back just a little. There is Randle. Very difficult guy to read.
Our first Jace the Mind Sculptor of the 2010 World Championship Top 8.
Which is going to resolve, and Paulo will go straight into Brainstorm mode, please, so the loyalty will stay at 3.
How many cards? 7.
How many cards? 7, but not really, because one of them's Oust. Is this one of those matchups where the first guy to blink is going to lose, generally speaking?
Generally speaking. I mean, to some extent, Paulo has that advantage of being able to draw cards with his creatures. And, you know, sort of puts the onus on Randle to deal with those.
Do something.
At some point he has to do something.
Yep.
He's just going to take 2 a turn.
So the clock is at 5 with Randle at 10. He's drawn Celestial Colonnade, Manalik, at least one else. There's a Day of Judgment, I believe, sitting in there. Randle decides to go fishing, have a quick look at Paulo's graveyard. Reminder that Christopher Wolf leads Lova Janse by 1-0. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa leads Lukas Jaklovsky by 1-0. And Guillaume Matignon leads Eric Froehlich by 1-0.
So 3-0 Grave Titans.
Yep. Even as you say those words, dealers around the world. So, Randle needing to do something, and he's going to do exactly what he tried to do last time, which was, please sir, can I have a Baneslayer Angel? I would like to mana leak that, and noticeable that Randle had 2 mana available after the mana leak, and you remember we had the Tectonic Edge last turn.
Right.
So there is the, I'm sorry, you don't quite have 3.
Yeah, it's a tapped Celestial Colonnade.
Paulo with Jace the Mind Sculptor and double Seagate Oracle. Looking in pretty reasonable shape here. Game 1. It's an awful long way from here to the final and to the world title. But it's a decent start. 253 lifetime pro points for the man from Porto Alegre. Only 23. He feels like he's been around forever. And of course,
it takes most people forever to get to 7 Pro Tour top 8s.
Indeed. 32 events and 7 Pro Tour top 8s. It's just extraordinary.
He can miss his next 3 events and still be hitting at a 20% clip.
Yeah, to compare with Gabriel Nassif, who of course was inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend. Well, that was 9 over, around about 53, 55. So Paulo at the same pace would have 14 Pro Tour top 8s. There's a Grave Titan on the left of Paulo's hand. Still got cancel, so in good shape as far as countering goes. He's got a Spreading Seas, or 2 Spreading Seas in hand. In come the 2 Seagate Oracles.
Right, which he can use the Spreading Seas to shut off the potential of that Celestial Colonnade.
Mm-hmm. No blocks for you.
Just really, at this point, has to sit there and defend.
The game is well in hand.
There's no threat to do anything to his Jace.
I can tell you that we're going to Game 2 of Guillaume Matignon against Eric Froehlich next. They are very kindly waiting for us.
Excellent.
Global audience, God bless them. So, at the conclusion of this one, we'll take you there. Randle on the right of your screen, De Rosa on the left. Paulo is going to Spreading Seas.
He's going to Spreading Seas a Plains.
Okay. Wafo-Tapa has the first Jace on the board in Game 2. So early advantage to Wafo-Tapa there. Give us the last bit again, Rashad.
But there's another Spreading Seas in store. On the other planes.
When Wafo-Tapa subsequently got duressed, having laid Jace, he revealed 3 more in hand.
So I suppose the reason that Paulo is putting the Spreading Seas on the plains and turning them into islands is he's likely holding a Tectonic Edge for the Celestial Colonnade.
And also, right now, doesn't that reduce Randle to 1 white mana source, which would put him off Day of Judgment? I believe that is the case. So 2 Spreading Seas on Randle's plains. There is Day of Judgment, double mana leak, Elspeth Tyrrell. I think he's up to 2 oust now in
2
hand.
or 3 ousts.
Yeah.
He's just playing old-fashioned strip mine control here.
Mm-hmm. And the clock is well and truly running on Randle, who untaps. In your upkeep.
Oh, there's a Tectonic Edge that was off camera.
And does Randle have anything to do with mana? Looks like he's just going to put it straight to the graveyard. It's gone.
He could use his own tectonic edge there. In which case, Paulo would get 2 lands. Happily.
And draw go is fine, but not when you're at 8 and looking at a Jace TMS and a pair of Seagate Oracles. Brainstorm again. See a Doomblade go into Paulo's hand. He's got Mystifying Maze there.
An interesting card that we haven't seen a lot of. I'm curious if the other... I don't think the other control decks have that.
No, I think that's pretty unique. Paulo, Christopher Wolf does not.
Guillaume does not.
Okay, Wafo-Tapa does not. No, there's not one for Lukas Jaklovsky either. Guillaume Matignon does not. Nope. Mystifying Maze. Which could yet come into play in a semi-final. Potentially against Eric Froehlich. Great shot over Paulo's shoulder there. You see his Seagate Oracle lands in front.
A half-hearted spreading seas from Randle.
And there, waiting for their game 2, you see Eric Froehlich and Guillaume Matignon having a look in, saying, what's going on here then? Well, I can tell you, boys, that Randle is at 6.
Eric Froehlich's looking sharp.
Indeed he is. Like all true New York Mets fans.
Yes.
I don't think we've yet had to commentate on a known New York Yankees fan in the top 8.
I don't believe so.
What a relief. Brainstorm yet again. No need for Jace to go anywhere other than 3. 3 is the perfect number. There's Disfigure there, Mana Leak. Paulo looking like he's got all the options, attack you for 2. And very soon Randle is going to have to go for something. If nothing else, he's probably going to have to try and oust Seagate Oracles and just try and not be at 4 and 2 and 0.
I believe there's a Creeping Tar Pit, which is lethal next turn. But there are 2 tectonic edges.
Our first glimpse of Christopher Wolf, also looking sharp in the background in a high-quality purple shirt. So, negate, that's not going to do very much, and Randle goes to 8 cards, so he will discard one of his ousts. And he's got Stoic Rebuttal. It's all reactive, it's not very proactive, and proactive is what he needs.
And planes are kind of what he needs at this point.
Yeah, and Paulo therefore is going to make sure he doesn't see any by Fate Sealing. Jace goes to 5.
No reason to activate the Creeping Tar Pit. Just says, I'm pretty happy to let you draw nothing of note this turn.
And approximately now, we're going to be done in game 1. Spreading Seas to try and see an extra card. Paulo looks to me like he may be dealing with that in a comprehensive, actual hard counterspell fashion. None of this Mana Leak nonsense, just an actual straight-up no.
He's going to animate and disfigure his Creeping Tar Pit.
Okay.
It says, no card draw for you. Negate the disfigure.
I'm going to try and stop you killing your guy. Please don't kill your guy. Crazy.
And that is all she wrote.
That is all she wrote. So we are going to take you across to Table B, which features Guillaume Matignon of France and Eric Froehlich of the United States. It sounds like Janse is in very good shape in Game 2. We'll see whether he's actually equalized or not shortly as we head across to the Frenchman Matignon and Eric Froehlich. Long way still to go in Paulo Vida Damo de Rosa against Jonathan Randle. 23-year-old Paulo Vida, 28-year-old Jonathan Randle playing in his first Pro Tour top 8, Paulo's 7th. But let's take you across to Table B, Eric Froehlich against Guillaume Matignon. The matchup here, blue-black control for the Frenchman and Vampires for Eric Froehlich from Las Vegas, Nevada. There you see the 2 players. Guillaume Matignon on the far side of the screen, just waving his little French flag, making sure that everyone sees that, and Eric Froehlich going to war. And as you say, he does look extremely well kept this morning.
Yep.
So Matignon, the 29-year-old from France, of course, Bordeaux, second Pro Tour top 8 of the season. He was the runner-up to Palavida Damo to Rosa. There's Eric Froehlich from Las Vegas, Nevada. Not top 10 in the Player of the Year race as long ago as 2002. So he's been around a while.
6 Grand Prix top 8s. He has a Grand Prix top 8 this season. He has Nationals top 8 this season.
And we open up
Bloodgast.
Blood. Yeah. Or as I call it, Bloodgast. Gassed. What's that? So
You're just trying to make it harder for me to pay off on our wager.
that is true. So Bloodgast piles in. Sounds like Wafo-Tapa has just had Memory Side cast against him to get rid of Grave Titans. And
there's a 2-2
vanilla
Gatekeeper of Malakir,
indeed,
which gets disfigured.
Rashad, did Janse win game 2 against Wolf?
So Janse in good shape against Wolf in game 2, but the blue-black control man from Austria still fighting. Wafo-Tapa 1 up, but just had his Grave Titans sent away. So here we are with Matignon against Vampires.
Inquisition of Kozilek sees Calastria Highborn, Lightning Bolt, and I believe that's a Feast in Blood.
So that's from the sideboard. Feast of Blood.
Feast of Blood,
you need to have 2 vampires. If you do, you get to kill something and you gain 4 life.
Takes the Calastria Highborn. Get a little bit of an engine going between Calastria Highborn, Bloodgast, and Viscera Seer. So you can sack your Bloodgast, you scry the top of your deck. You're like, oh look, there's a land. I'll keep it there.
You pay 1. You do the
Lava Claw Reaches from Eric Froehlich.
Spelling of Matignon is incorrect. There is no N in Matignon, but it's M-A-T-I-G-N-O-N. The first N does not exist.
A little bit of a land-heavy draw from Matignon. He has 2 Creeping Tar Pits.
Bloodgast will go back to business. You see Lava Claw Reaches there for Eric Froehlich. That was a card synonymous with Simon Gertzen, the first Pro Tour champion of this year. Had a tremendous run in Standard. Day 1 got to 5-0, but that was actually as good as it got for Simon. He lost the last round to Pierre Canali and kind of fell away on draft day 2.
And there's a Calastria Highborn.
Spot on.
It resolves. Spreading
Lava
Sea
Claw
on the
Reaches.
Is this the most spreading seas we've seen in the top 8 so far?
I think it probably is. I mean, we were expecting it this time last year, weren't we? I mean, there was... I'm trying to think who was playing Spreading Seas in the top 8 of Rome. See a Grave Titan there in the French hand. No blocks.
So it looks like we have 20 Spreading Seas in this top 8.
That's plenty, isn't it? 20's plenty. Chris Wolf has Grave Titan down, but Janse came up with Terrastodon, got rid of 3 of his own land, so that's the full 18 power of men. You make 10 power of men, how about 18 for me?
There's a Grave Titan for
Matignon.
Matignon. We assume that is going to be feasted on.
Let's see, looks like a Burst Lightning in hand. It looks like, yep, there's the feast, sends it packing. And Froehlich goes up to 24, which is not something that Matignon cares about particularly. Once he's winning, he's winning.
He's just going to send in Bloodgast.
He's got a very posh Lightning Bolt in hand. Or is that a Burst Lightning? It's out comes Duress. So we see Jace the Mind Sculptor, Mana Leak, and Misty Rainforest.
Again, Rashad, please.
Takes the Jace.
anything you can do, I can do better. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa has returned the favour to Lukas Jaklovsky, taking away all his Grave Titans with a memory side for the Frenchman.
In the nya match.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing much of that later on.
Guillaume has drawn his card for the turn, and we find out that it's Duress.
And now we see what exactly is going on in Froehlich's hand. There was a very nice posh lightning bolt,
There's also a burst lightning.
which is not really what you want to see when you're already at 8 life, and there's plenty of stuff on the table and the ability to Calastria Highborn you. Had a little grimace Matignon at that.
Attacks with Creeping Tar Pit.
Who knows, maybe Froehlich would have bolted it. Maybe not. In with the Bloodgast. And Matignon runs his hand through his hair. And knows that he's in trouble here. Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa and Jonathan Randle are just underway in their second game.
So,
And the Terastodon 18 power of guys for Janse from Sweden ties up the match against his Austrian opponent, Blue-Black Control, Chris Wolf 1, Janse 1.
meanwhile, the Bloodgast is traded with one of the tokens. And Eric paid the black for the Calastria Highborn.
You see Guillaume Wafo-Tapa and Lukas Jaklovsky in the background.
That is game to Eric Froehlich.
It is, so we are tied at 1-1. We will stay with this game. We'll give you game 3 from the get-go. Vampires, because Vampires, as I say, it's one of those decks, archetypes that so many people have wanted to be good for a very long time. And it's a deck that just got pushed over the edge once people went, yeah, I don't have to be just black. I can run the burn.
Right. And again, the red was, I mean, a lot of the red, the push towards the red was the active treason, mark of me type of action to steal Primeval Titans and Inferno Titans and Grave Titans and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But the burns turned out to be quite nice.
Indeed.
And we don't see those cards in Eric's deck.
Talking to Eric Froehlich yesterday, he was saying that he came back to Magic because Magic was all about the gathering. It was about the friendships. And you look at his Grand Prix record, and he has team Grand Prix top 8 in New Jersey in 2002, Amsterdam 03, Washington 04, Madison 06, and always with fellow travelers. And he loves that aspect of the game. You see him there, and he said, I came back, and this is another of those trends we're seeing increasingly, and you're very aware of this, I know, how players from the early days of the Pro Tour left the game, went away, started to make their mark in the world of business and so on, set up their .coms or whatever it is, and became hedge fund traders, boo. And then now all of a sudden in their late 20s, early 30s, here they are back again and discovering that not only is the game still here, bigger and better than ever, but their friends are all still here and bigger and better than ever.
Sure, absolutely. And they know it's going to be a resource for new friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and in terms of just people who are like-minded, you know, young, smart people who, you know, people form these social networks around the game.
Eric was saying this. He said, you know, it isn't just about the old guys. He said, you look at Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa, and your Brad Nelsons, your Louis Scott Vargas, Ochoa, Josh Huddle-Layton. They're a great bunch of guys to hang out with as well as test with.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just look at Eric Froehlich. His two running buddies generally will be Dave Williams, who's as old school as he is, and Matt Sperling, who's recently made his mark on the Pro Tour.
Absolutely. Sperling just missed out. He lost to Christopher Wolf in the penultimate round to essentially take him out of top 8 contention yesterday.
Quite a good year for him, by the way.
Sperling.
Absolutely. He's got a 15th place, a 19th place, and a 22nd place at the last 3 Pro Tours.
Yes, that is pretty good going. So we're getting ready for game 3 here. Randle, I can tell you off screen, has Jace Bellerin down.
And he's had it down for quite some time.
Which is good news for him. Also, even better news is that he won't be running Oust anymore. So he felt that the matchup improved a little after game 1. And he's feeling confident enough to run a mana leak on a preordain. I can tell you that we have another game score over here between Guillaume Wafo-Tapa and Lukas Jaklovsky. The blue-black mirror has advanced somewhat, BDM.
With all the Grave Titans gone from the match, Guillaume Wafo-Tapa looked to Jace the Mind Sculptor to be his win condition.
And how is Jace the Mind Sculptor as a win condition? Does that work out okay?
Pretty darn swell.
Well, so Guillaume Wafo-Tapa leads his Czech opponent Lukas Jaklovsky by 2-0. Lukas Jaklovsky, interesting guy, was part of the Czech national team last year at Worlds that finished 3rd, and they absolutely paced the team across the 3 days. Totally outstanding, utterly dominant performance, and then of course they ran in to the Chinese on Super Sunday in the semi-finals. But Jaklovsky, very impressive. Talking to him, we talked a little last night about how almost calm, just calm he was about making it here. And yeah, I thought 5-1 in standard was about right, and I'd done lots of drafting, so yep, thought I'd do well there, and then extended. I had a good deck, so yep, here I am. It's good. It's good. And he did crack a smile at the end. It was like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, he seemed to be, he was calm, but it seemed like he was trying to keep his explosiveness under control.
So we are away in game 3. Guillaume Matignon kicks us off.
With a creeping tar pit.
And on the other end, Marsh Flats.
I think we let him play.
Preordain from Matignon on turn 2. Froehlich has Dark Tutelage, Calastria Highborn, a Gatekeeper of Malakir, bunch of land.
Dark Tutelage is an amazing card for him in this matchup. His opponent's not going to deal a ton of damage to him. And if he can get that card to stick, he's just going to draw. He's going to provide more threats than the control deck can deal with.
Yep.
Especially a blue-black control deck, which does not have access to Wrath. Although it does have Consume the Meek. He has 2 Consume the Meek main. And I guess he has 3 Ratchet Bombs as well.
The thing is, with Bloodghast, it just keeps on coming back. So,
Absolutely.
all this mass removal doesn't necessarily get you very far. It's why you like things like Path to Exile.
Now it seems like it might be pretty good against Bloodghast.
Well, Randle has some spare right now, so...
And there's a Gatekeeper of Malakir.
And end of turn, Disfigure. Let's just get rid of it. Send it packing. I'd like to stay at around about 20 so that when I duress you next time, I'm not at 8, as in the previous game. So there's Spreading Seas. From Matignon, draws a card, lays another land.
If they're still going at the end of this game, we'll go to Wafo-Tapa and Jaklovsky.
Jace Bellerin continues to be in play for Jonathan Randle in game 2. He's one down on Palavida Damo de Rosa of Brazil, of course.
Jace has only 1 counter on it at the moment.
It's 4 color in 5. I don't know to count.
Again, Matignon deep in thought. And he makes his decision, and his decision is 4 mana. I would like Jace TMS. I'm going to Fate Seal. Get it up to 5. Make it tough for you to kill Jace off in simple fashion.
16.
Oh, there's a Dark Tutelage in play for Eric Froehlich that
Yep.
is below the score band. I did not see that.
So, and takes 3 for revealing Dark Tutelage.
They both have engines in play.
Froehlich, there he is. He's going to duress, and he will see Spreading Seas, Mana Leak, and land. How much land does the Vampires deck want to run off, ideally? Sitting at 3 right now.
Really doesn't need more than 4. You know, he wants to have enough mana to, you know, keep recycling those. Actually, it's going to want a lot if it's doing its blood gas tricks. 4 or 5. Oh, there's a
Vampire Nighthawk. 2/3 flying, death touch,
lifelink.
lifelink, makes the T. It's quite good.
So it also offsets the life loss from the Dark Tutelage.
I think my most miserable pre-release experience ever was getting beaten by Vampire Nighthawk in about 5 out of the 6 rounds. When that set came out, I went, I don't want to see you ever again. But here it is.
Oh, by the way, over on the Randle PV match, we have a Gideon Jura with, you know, a bunch of counters on it.
And it looks like Randle is doing pretty nicely. Their Inquisition of Kozilek from Paulo has been negated by Randle. But in our current main game, we have Jace the Mind Sculptor for Guillaume Matignon.
It looks like he used the bounce ability to send the Nighthawk back.
And there you see Froehlich's hand with the US flag in the background. Oh look, it's a Vampire Nighthawk. Oh look, it's a mana leak for the Vampire Nighthawk. Froehlich at 15 now. Interesting that in this top 8 you have 3 players who are in their second Pro Tour top 8 of the season.
Stunning.
I mean, what a performance. You have Guillaume Matignon, who of course was runner-up to Paulo in San Juan. You have Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa, who beat Guillaume Matignon in the final of San Juan. And then you have Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, who many people in a way forget that he was in the top 8, you know, just a few short months ago.
Yeah, the top 8 from Amsterdam was so star-studded that it was like, oh yeah, and Guillaume Wafo-Tapa.
You know, that amazing control player with a Pro Tour title to his name. Yeah, he lost 3-1 in the quarters. That was kind of it. Here is Grave Titan for Guillaume Matignon. Was that you going inside the head of Eric Froehlich there?
Yes, yes.
I thought so. I thought it might be.
Eric's looking upward for an answer.
Yeah, whereas really the cards are actually down a bit.
Too many targets.
Too many targets, says Matignon. So, Burst Lightning for one of the guys. End of turn. Froehlich reveals a land of his Dark Tutelage. One of the highlights of Gen Con this year was watching Bob Ma in the final of a very major event die to his own Dark Confidant. That was a pretty extraordinary game of Magic.
Greatness at any price.
Indeed. And Owen Turtenwald was very grateful for it. You see Jace the Mind Sculptor at 4. You see a Grave Titan. You see one spare zombie. Saying, you can pick me if you like, Mr. Froehlich. Buddies will be back. The first Jace is underway in Wafo-Tapa against Jaklovsky, and it has gone to the checkman, who needs, remember, to sweep Wafo-Tapa from here, 0-2 down. Here's Vampire Nighthawk and now Calastria Highborn for Eric.
Shown 15, I'm on 20.
Just checking, 15 against 20.
I imagine this is bounce Nighthawk attack.
Seems likely.
Gideon Jura is tapped and attacking, by the way, over in the Randle match.
That's probably quite a good indicator of heading for 1-1. Although if anyone is going to deal with a situation like that, it'll be PVDDR, who's still got a bunch of cards in hand. He's got 6 cards in hand right now. So 10 plays 10 in Janse against Christopher Wolf. The 10 are, specifically, Janse has 10 mana. That's pretty exciting. Christopher Wolf has 10 counters. Well, what'll they be on?
Oh, those will be on Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Nice. 2 more. Little 2/2s, but not so little, for Guillaume Matignon. The Vampire Nighthawk will get in the way, and there's Disfigure to make it a 0-1. This is all going the Frenchman's way right now. And Froehlich is looking pretty carefully, but he can look all he likes. There's a lot on the table there that he's going to struggle to deal with. And he flicks the Spreading Seas back, and that is 2-1 to Guillaume Matignon.
Okay, we're going to go over and look at the Guillaume Wafo-Tapa match. I think we're going to check in with him right now, see how that's going. He's playing against Lukas Jaklovsky. Lukas Jaklovsky has Jace the Mind Sculptor in play.
And a little bit more about his history. He has a top 16 this year, so nearly a second top 8 of the season for him.
Was that in San Juan?
It was indeed.
Yeah.
And he started off brilliantly in Constructed, 6-0 in Constructed in Standard. And in fact, because Guillaume Wafo-Tapa was also 6-0 in Standard, this will be the first loss in this format for one of these two players this weekend. Of that you can be sure. Lukas Jaklovsky clearly not going to be daunted by playing Wafo-Tapa. But nonetheless, Wafo-Tapa has a bunch of history behind him.
And no one daunts Guillaume.
Oh, that is certain. No, he's never seen a matchup he didn't like as long as he's holding the blue spells. So there you see them. There's Lukas Jaklovsky to the left of Nissa, Ravane, and then on the right we have Guillaume Wafo-Tapa of France. As Wafo-Tapa is, remember, 2 games to the good here over the Czech man. And
negate on a Spreading Seas from Guillaume. Guillaume's like, okay.
So Jace has 1 counter on it. You see it.
That's a Jace Bellerin, right? That is not the Mind Sculptor.
Yep, he's shouting loudly. He's Bellerin.
Oof.
There's Jaklovsky. There's the board. Jace with 1 counter on. And plenty of land for both, so that Tectonic Edge not doing much right now for Jaklovsky. And he says, I tell you what, why don't we both have some cards, because that sounds like fun. So Jace goes up to 3.
So it's 1 for me, 1 for me, 1 for you, and 1 for me. is the pattern.
Is that the nursery rhyme?
Yes.
What all blue control players teach their children.
Yes.
1 for me, 1 for me, 1 for you, and 1 for me. That's how you get fat. There's Wafo-Tapa. And that Tectonic Edge is going to go into action from Jaklovsky. Well, it looks like it. And yep. Let's just send you back 1. Yeah, that's fine, says Guillaume. Swamp from Jaklovsky. And we go to the Frenchman, the 2007 Pro Tour Yokohama champion here in Japan with mystical teachings. And we were pretty excited about seeing whether he could make mystical teachings work in Amsterdam. I think it's fair to say he did.
Very, very successfully. What do you think this does for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa's Hall of Fame chances next year? He was eligible this year. He came somewhat close.
Yeah, he was clearly not right for Hall of Fame this year.
Right.
I would say. I mean, you know,
prior to a top 8 in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I'm going to be the first guy to put him on, put my tick next to him when I feel I have the opportunity. This does make a difference, of course it does. It's his 4th Pro Tour top 8. I think next year is going to be very interesting because he was so good in the back end of 06 and throughout 07, and he was a level 8 mage and top of his game, and culminating ultimately in Kuala Lumpur, where even in Limited, supposedly his weakness, he made top 8 in the top 8 won by John Finkel, of course. And then he kind of went away. He was still playing, he was still turning up, and he wasn't winning. And he couldn't put his finger on why, but he just keeps on playing. Now here's Jace the other way. Can we match that up? Mana leak from Jaklovsky. He says, I'd rather we didn't. And Guillaume says, all right.
He's like, you'll get a
Okay.
card off of my Jace 2 turns from now, 3 turns from now.
I'm not sure that's really the correct approach, though. Jace goes to 2 as Jaklovsky draws a card. Mana leak, Stoic Rebuttal, Grave Titan, land. So just lays another tap land, and he's going to be looking for a window where essentially he can work round a counter spell from Guillaume Wafo-Tapa and then force through the Grave Titan. Grave Titan, counter your counter. I'm in pole position. I've got a Jace in play. I've got Grave Titan plus chums. We're in business. Here's Inquisition of Kozilek from Wafo-Tapa, who I can tell you has Memory Side, Stoic Rebuttal, 3 land, and AN Other. AN Other being Jace the Mind Sculptor. It's also got a Preordain. Stoic Rebuttal for the Inquisition.
Preordained says, sure, go ahead.
So we see a Mana Leak and a land. And Guillaume sends them both away. And then draws, a Mana Leak.
You have 5 cards?
I wonder if Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, there's no way to check this, I wonder if he has the highest percentage of playing lands tapped in Pro Tour history. It's like everything he ever does seems to come in at 90 degrees, except for the basic island.
The collection of Planeswalker continues for Jonathan Randle. He's just added the Elspeth Total Request live.
He has the trilogy.
So we've got a baby Jace, a Gideon Jura, and an Elspeth in play.
With some soldiers.
Yeah.
Paulo is attempting a Grave Titan the other way. Randle is looking at 7 cards in hand, but says, sure. That board is looking pretty saucy, to be fair. Janse and Wolf are tied at 1-1. Rosa leads Randle 1-0. Matignon 2-1 up over Eric Froehlich. And here, Wafo-Tapa by 2-0.
And that's a game for Jonathan Randle. He turned everything sideways, and Paulo started picking things up.
So they will head to Game 3, knowing it is now the best of 3. Brad Nelson will be pleased with Jonathan Randle taking Game 2. Saying Randle thought he had a pretty decent shot after sideboarding in that one. Paulo, I believe, felt he was somewhat favoured.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty certain what we might term the chattering classes will automatically have Paulo as favourite, as we would too on play skill. Because however much you've got to love what John Randle's done here, this is Paulo Vida Damo de Rosa.
But Paulo's clearly the cream of the crop when it comes to players right now. He's in an elite class of a small handful of people.
Yeah.
And again, when you're making top 8s at a 20% clip, that's just unbelievable. And even before he was doing it at a 20% clip, he was making top 32s and top 16s. Oh, here's a Memoricide from Guillaume. Will this resolve?
You have 4 cards?
Well, I think there's going to be an argument.
Yeah.
At the very least. There might be a little bit of friendly discussion between control mages. Let's put it like that. As Jaklovsky sees how much does he have resource-wise. Well, he has Mana Leak number 1. Guillaume can pay, but then, of course, would be susceptible to a second Mana Leak.
He does pay.
Yep.
And he
So-
gets the second Mana Leak.
Which he was susceptible to.
Yeah.
So there we go. That taps out Wafo-Tapa. We go back to Jaklovsky, who we may have reached that point in the nursery rhyme with the 1 for me and 1 for you, because Jace is just at 1.
We may have reached the Grave Titan portion of this competition.
Indeed. Preordain first.
Oh, wait, we may have reached, that looks like a Memoricide, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He may choose to do that first.
Does this not feel like the window for Titanage? And how often do you see Wafo-Tapa tapped out?
And that's what he's trying to figure out here. It's like, do I just take away his, Jaces, his Grave Titan, something? The rest of his counter spells?
I guess the thing
or
is...
do I make a threat that he doesn't really have a good answer to?
I mean, if you go with the memory side plan, you're basically saying, I'm going to do something bad to you. If you go with the Grave Titan plan, you say, I'm going to do something potentially game-winning to you, but only potentially.
Sure, but if he does the Memoir side first, he can take Grave Titans, and then his Grave Titan is just able to come through unopposed. It says, let's both draw a card.
So you would go memory side here?
I think I would. It looks like that's the route he's going to go. Takes another preordain. We've got a turn 2 Primeval Titan in the Love Janse Christopher Wolf match.
Yeah, so that basically involves, well, I'm going to try and make something and you're going to counter it with Mana Leak, and then I'm going to have the Summoning Trap, and ta-da, thank you very much. Yeah, that is a very big turn. So here's Jaklovsky. Looking. Laserland.
Nope, it's Grave Titan.
Going for the Titan.
There we go. He remembered the Titan.
Oh, good movie.
I love that movie. It's one of the movies I cannot not watch if it's on.
Again, Rashad. Yes, that's Janse against Wolf 2-2, correct?
I can tell you that Janse, you know that Primeval Titan on turn 2 we mentioned about 3 seconds ago? That made it game, set, and match. So that is 2-2, and we are going to head there next, I can tell you. We're going to see the Swede in action against Austria's Christopher Wolf on Table C. Love Janse from Sweden. Tremendous first top 8 appearance for him.
Lukas Jaklovsky picks up a game here. The Grave Titan was clearly the correct play.
Oh, obviously. Well, it works. We can say that at least, can't we? So let's see if we can take you to Table C, which, as I say, features Love Janse of Sweden from Linköping. Looks like Linköping, but that's not how they pronounce it. You heard him at the start pronouncing that. He's a level 1. This is his very first Pro Tour.
He is no longer a level 1.
No, that is... Well, you see, you get 12 points automatically for being in the quarterfinal. Then it's 16 for the semis, 20 for the finalist, a whopping great 25 if you go the whole way. I'll be quite interested to see how Janse gets on with cards like sorceries and instants and enchantments and things, because his first ever match was the Legions pre-release, the set that had 100% creatures. So there he is. I'll let you describe what we've got on screen there.
Loe is sitting there with the sushi that bites back. We've all been enjoying the fish in sushi in Japan, but this fish is enjoying Loe here. This is a Swedish tradition, and the Swedish player who is doing the best in the tournament gets to wear the shark hat. And so we've seen Bertil Elfgren wearing this hat a lot at recent events. Interestingly, Anton Jonsson refused to wear the hat when he was 5-1 on day 1. He had an opportunity. They said, "You're the highest placing Swede at the moment. Would you like to wear the hat?" And he said no. And there may be some karma there. I don't know.
Or the revoking of a passport.
But I think it's a great tradition. I would like to see more people actually pick up the idea of this. Not necessarily the same shark hat, but some sort of...
Yeah, let's not have the same shark hat. It's the only way we know who they are. And then Christopher Wolf, there you see, looking very sharp and stylish. I know he's thrilled to be on camera here. A couple of years ago, he played in the World Championships at Memphis in 2008, and he came running over to me. He said, "Rich, I've had the best draft. I've got 7 Glaze Fiends." He went 3-0 in that draft. The team ended up, I think, top 16, 15th place for them. But now, a couple of years on, I said, well, if you win your last round yesterday, you are certainly going to be in the coverage. You're going to be live around the world, which is what he is now. So we have Janse, with Eldrazi green, Wolf with blue-black control. There you see Janse's hand. Forest at the front there. Ooh, what else have we got going on there? Wolf has opened up with Preordain. In this decider, the winner of this one will play either Guillaume Wafo-Tapa or Lukas Jaklovsky, with Wafo-Tapa 2-1 up.
I have preordains on all my monitors, by the way.
You know that two of those monitors are the same picture,
Yeah,
don't
but
you?
the third one is actually the Jonathan Randle match.
Indeed.
Preordain and Spreading Seas over there.
So Wolf in the background. With Tezzeret looking on. Land in the early going. Are we going to see the first bit of acceleration from Janse?
Overgrown battlements. Do you mana leak it? No, we Doomblade it.
Yeah.
It's much safer that way.
I've got a better idea. There it is. With that view, it's like something out of Space 1999.
Go. Very good. 6 cards.
Fourth land for Wolf, past the turn. Mystifying Maze has come
I was
down.
going to say there's Mystifying Maze for low A, too.
The most perplexing of breakfast cereals.
Anyway, I always thought the full English breakfast was the most perplexing of the breakfasts.
It's a great name for a deck, though,
It's
isn't it?
certainly the most perplexing deck to play.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, that was very early in my playing days, and I just looked at all these cards. I had no idea what any of them did, pretty much.
We saw an interesting sort of, I think, homage to the full English breakfast with the Conley Woods deck tech we did an extended Unhinged Necrotic Ooze deck. If you haven't taken a look at that, that's a deck to check out.
Yeah, I needed headache pills after that.
Yeah, that's some fairly complicated things. Isn't it?
We should put a little public health warning on that day, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
You need to know what you're doing. Do not pick it up in the car on the way to an extended PTQ.
Another overgrown battlement is destroyed with Doomblade and not mana leaked.
Mm-hmm. It's like, how inside the head do you get with Summoning Trap? I mean, Wolf is sitting there with 1, 2, 3 mana leaks.
Well, what he wants is
Chalice kicked once.
Overflowing, ever-flowing chalice. Mother Loving Cup.
Mother Loving Cup.
Go.
1 and pass. If you've kept them in, you want to mana leak stuff.
What he'd like to do is he'd like to get to a position where he can mana leak an Oracle of Maldaya and then have additional mana up to mana leak the Summoning Trap,
Yeah.
which is the point he's at in this game.
When Wolf beat Matt Sperling in the penultimate round, there was a pretty epic fist pump, it's fair to say, and noticeable that the Austrian team, and not just the 3 members of the team, who, by the way, did tremendously well, Christian Gavrilovic, Simon Grunau and Nicky Eigner, but the whole Austrian contingent here have been incredibly supportive with each other. It's been a really good team effort in the full national sense.
Level up.
Drag a Tree Speaker, level it up.
Good to see leveling in constructed.
Yeah,
And level up.
And going to do it again.
I like that so much. I will do it again.
Yeah, that was fun.
So we're looking at 8 mana for Lily when he untaps.
Just gently kind of drawing away in the mana
He
stakes.
hasn't even done anything very explosive.
That's right. I mean, there's not a lot gone on, and yet, I'm at 8-4, and Wolf has not laid a land there. So Wolf is sitting on 4. He slides enough to double mana leak.
And interestingly, he's holding a duress, and it's that fear of the Summoning Trap that actually kept him from. You know, normally you go, oh, let me duress you, let me see what you have here, but he really wants to just keep 2 mana leaks going. There's an Eye of Ugin.
Go.
So for 7, he can go fetch stuff.
Yep.
And Colorless Eldrazi will cost 2 less. Again, not a land for Wolf.
He's got a duress here.
So this time it's like, yeah, I would like to have a look, please. We would like to have a look, please.
Response.
Oh, respond. by tapping lots for
Summoning trap.
Summoning Trap. That's a bit problematic for Wolf. He so needed a land either last turn or this.
You can mana leak this.
He can mana leak it.
Now he sees Primeval
Okay.
Titan, and another Summoning Trap. Is that the last card?
Disfigure the Jiraga.
No, I guess that's another creature. I couldn't see what. Or maybe that was a Terastodon.
Don't think it was Summoning Trap.
Could have been a Terastodon or an Avenger of Zendikar. It was certainly green.
Primeval Titan. Good.
Primeval Titan.
2 Tectonic Edge.
Oof. Get 2 Tectonic Edges with the Primeval Titan.
Harsh.
And that's,
And
yeah, that's
that
enough.
is game. And Love Janse from Sweden will move into the semi-finals, defeating Christopher Wolf of Austria by 3-2. And Chris hangs his head. He gave it everything, but by 3-2, he is gone.
Let's go to the front.
Let's check back in on Paulo, Vitor, and Jonathan Randle.
So we are going to go and see PVDDR in his seventh top
see a
8.
sideboarded Leonin Arbiter and a Jace the Mind Sculptor in play for Jonathan Randle. I see a Ratchet Bomb.
3 counters on that for Paulo. He's got a preordain going on at the moment. Looks like he's having a look at a Jace the Mind Sculptor. He's got a Stoic Rebuttal in hand, plus 1 other card. Looks like he's going to leave cards on the top. And he has a Jace the Mind Sculptor in hand, a Stoic Rebuttal, and a land. He's now going to run out Jace the Mind Sculptor, which obviously eliminates Randle's. So they've both gone away. Ratchet Bomb is at 3. Leonin Arbiter for Randle, who draws, attacks for 2. With the Leonin Arbiter, we'll bring the life scores to you as soon as we can, as you see the Brazilian there, playing the best of 3 now to move 1 step closer to Player of the Year.
You can see a Spreading Seas here on a Creeping Tar Pit.
Froehlich,
Yep.
Matignon, and Wafo-Tapa, please.
We are going to see Venser, the Sojourner. So now he can bounce his Spreading Seas around and draw a card every turn.
Is that Matignon? That's 1-3-1. Really cool.
We have another result, and I can tell you that in blue-black against vampires, vampires are gone. They are creatures of the night, not creatures of the day. It is daytime here in Japan. And Guillaume Matignon, by 3-1, has taken it over Eric Froehlich. And Guillaume Matignon moves 1 step closer to potentially being Player of the Year. He must win Worlds, remember, to force a tie with Brad Nelson. Wow.
Wafo-Tapa, Jaklovsky, please. What's going on in that one of the show?
Go.
Memory side took memory side.
So we see a Tectonic Edge from Paulo. He also landed a Baby Jace.
I can tell you that Guillaume Wafo-Tapa has cast Memory Side and has taken Memory Side. Wafo-Tapa, remember, 2-1 up in his quarterfinal.
So Jace strip mines Jace again.
Uh-huh. But Randle again
12.
seems to be doing pretty nicely here in Game 3.
Because that Ratchet Bomb is going to be in a position to take out the Venser next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's Jace and Jace.
So we call it blue-white control, but it's increasingly in the big configuration. It's planeswalker control. I mean, we were talking Randle up to 6, 7, 8. 9.
And if you watch Randle, he drew a card with Jace, and then he drew a card with Venser by removing the spreading siege from the game and then putting it on another land. I mean, he's very close to being able to ultimate that Venser.
So 11 planeswalkers in Randle's deck. Now that Venser has come in, unless he sideboarded any of them out, we don't know quite what the configuration is. Rosa looks like he is digging. There you see him flicking through his pile. Old school swamp. So Venser the
So if he gets to untap, he gets the emblem.
Wow. Because it's +2, exile and return, -1, creatures unblockable, -8, get the emblem. Whenever you cast something, exile something. There's Inquisition from Paulo.
Took a spreading seas.
And it looks like 3 land and Jace the Mind Sculptor left for Jonathan Randle. If you're kind of
He has to blow up the Ratchet Bomb here.
Yes. So there it goes. Randle untaps. Looking at Baby Jace, drawing him a card, goes to 1 counter. Laying in Arbiter. Goes into the red zone, puts Paulo to 9. There's a Mind Break trap there for Randle. We know he has Jace the Mind Sculptor, so does Paulo.
Tapped Seachrome Coast.
Paulo with just 2 cards. The one that he now has left is Stoic Rebuttal. And Randle continues to draw planeswalkers. He has plenty to do so. But, Arbiter goes in. Just have a look at your graveyard, please. And you see Randle there looking precisely as he did at the start of this, around about an hour ago. Certainly unfazed by going 1-0 down, which he kind of expected to do in some ways.
Sure. Interestingly, the 2 control mirrors are still ongoing.
That's funny how that often works out.
Yeah.
At the end of this game, we will go back to Guillaume Wafo-Tapa against Jaklovsky. If they're still going, they may head for a game 5 with Wafo-Tapa currently 2-1 up. Another into play tapped. As we look out from the booth here beside the main stage, so many great things were here at Worlds. Japan's always a little bit special, a little bit exotic, and we've had some fantastic sort of public event action, and in particular, all the kind of peripheral things here have been just amazing. I think of Akuba, particularly the 3D artist. That is just one of the most spectacular Magic-related things I've ever seen.
He has a magnificent 3D Jace sculpture.
Say again.
Sounds like we have a result on the back table.
Indeed we do. A second memory side from Guillaume Wafo-Tapa takes away Grave Titans from Lukas Jaklovsky, and the Czech man scoops. So Guillaume Wafo-Tapa will advance to the semi-final and will face Janse in that one. So the 2 Frenchmen on opposite sides of the brackets are both through to the semi-finals.
There are only control decks and Eldrazi left in this event.
Wow.
Here's an Elspeth TRL from Jonathan Randle. We're going to see a Stoic Rebuttal from a more jubilant rebuttal, I suspect, from Jonathan.
One of the toughest skills to master in Magic, not just for control players, but for everyone, is that of patience. And Randle is an incredibly patient player. I've watched him multiple times this weekend, and it isn't about taking time to think. This is about, you know what? You want to counter it? Yep. Okay, you've countered it. You're at 5. You've still got a lane in arbiter there. I'm still in good shape.
Yep.
I don't want to get in a counter spell war over that and give you a window where something crazy might happen.
I would rather spend my mana protecting my threat.
Unlike game 1, which we saw in its entirety, this time it's Paulo who has to do stuff. Randle would draw a card off Jace.
Yeah, that Jace has been there since turn 3, so he's up so many cards.
In comes the Arbiter. Paulo falls to 3. Randle has all the gas in the world in his hand. There's an end of turn Doomblade for the lane in Arbiter. Now this is something you might decide to have a little discussion about.
Randle needs to think.
We know that Paulo has only 1 card. Randle is counting up the mana, thinking, if I debate this with you, will I still have mana at the end of the day? Well, he's going to go Mind Break Trap. And Paulo just has a little grimace and goes, yep, okay. You see at the top of your screen that Jace Bellerin with 2 counters on. It's been going up and down, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, all the way. And that is what is causing Paulo to bite his lip right now.
Yeah.
Because we are pretty close to 2-1 to Jonathan Randle in the last of the quarterfinals.
Legislator, can we pull up the top Europeans, please?
DeRosa is on 1. And there's a Celestial Colonnade. It's an additional... Oh, and that's going to fall to a Tectonic Edge.
And roundabout now... Oh, he's going to make him play. Pass it on.
Upkeep, Doomblade.
Doomblade.
Negate.
Negate.
That's good.
And that is game 3. And in the front row, Dan Gardner, former national champion himself, part of the team, punches the air as Randle leads 2-1.
So while they sideboard, I think I've come to a rather distasteful portion of our webcast, Richard.
Oh, yes.
I feel that it's come time for me to pay a debt
Okay, off you go then.
to you.
Thank you.
You, sir, are a fine gentleman.
And I'd have loved to call you a scholar, but you're clearly not. BDM and I, we were at Grand Prix Toronto, and we had a little discussion, and I was on our good friends GG's Live, chatting about actually playing at an event, which was a great privilege, because I don't get to do that very much, and boy, do I love playing Magic. And I was chatting to them, and they said, you know, what are teams looking like for Worlds? And I said, well, yep, obviously there are some good teams around, but it's not a stellar year. There aren't 12 teams that are stacked with pros. It isn't going to be like that. And I said quietly that the UK team were pretty good, and they were very close to the best team we could assemble if we were kind of handpicking them. We got multiple national champions in the team. There weren't many players who legitimately looked at the team and went, oh, it would have been so much better if I'd been on it as a quality level. And so BDM and I had a little discussion in Toronto, and I said, you know what, I'll just go for a sporting wager that Britain will finish a little bit higher than the US, and it has been back and forth all weekend. It's been very, very tight. Yeah, we won.
And had I met Jono before making that wager, I might have been a little more hesitant to do so. He's been a pleasure to watch. He's clearly a terrific player.
And he's our alternate. He isn't even on the team. He couldn't make the team. That's how good we are. Top 8 of Worlds couldn't even make the team. But seriously, there are a good group of guys around the UK, and you know, everything goes in cycles. Right now, we've got the resurgence of American Magic, which is definitely a theme of this year. We've seen the Japanese maybe falling away. We're going to look at assorted top 10s through the weekend. 6 Europeans, by the way, in the top 8 here. Well, 1 North American, obviously Eric Froehlich, and then Paulo, Damo, Rosa. I wonder if we can get a look at the top Europeans as the finishing list. We've sort of put all these together for you as we've crammed all our different bits of paper around. Basically, as I say, here we are, the top Europeans. You see, Lova Janse second, the 2 Guillaumes third and fourth, Jaklovsky 6, Wolf 7, Randle 8. Those, of course, are dependent on what happens now. But then, Two unfortunate tales, Kopech and Elfgren, we've discussed already, but nonetheless terrific finishes, top 16 in a Pro Tour, no slouch. And then...
Talking to Mateus after the event, he said, if I'd known coming into the event that I was going to top 16, I would gladly, make that deal with the devil, right?
Yep.
A top 16 at a World Championships is an amazing accomplishment. You or I...
Yeah.
would love to have that on our resume.
Bite your hand off.
Yeah.
And it's only because he led the field. And just as Erwin Tormos did, he was 11-1 a couple of years back and didn't make it in. But those bottom two, Tony Portolan and Stepan Sušić, I knew I was going to get that wrong, but both from the same country, HRV. Now, that is Croatia or Hrvatska. That's where the HRV comes from. And to find two Croatians in the top 10 Europeans, that is a tremendous achievement. And one of the things we love about Worlds is there are so many great stories from all around the world.
Absolutely.
Like the Argentina team. You're thinking, don't know anything about the Argentina team. I said, I don't think they've got a lot of grounds for optimism. Okay? That's what I said. You've got to be fair. You've got to call it as you see it. But they did not come dead last of the national teams. They were second to last. So they beat someone. And they can go, we weren't last. They go home and they went, we didn't come last, we did okay. All right. And next year, well, there's 48 places to work your way up towards maybe a Sunday webcast.
Something to be optimistic about.
Absolutely. The only way, well, not quite the only way is up, as it were. So we're heading for Game 4 of Paulo Damo Rosa against Jonathan Randle. And a reminder of the significance of this beyond merely the top 8. We have Paulo Damo Rosa trying to make Player of the Year. In order to do so, he must win the next 2 games against Jonathan Randle. He must then win his semi-final, which we now know will be against Guillaume Matignon. If he does that, he's Player of the Year. Matignon already in the semi-finals. If he can beat Paulo in the semi-final, and then a finalist, which will be either Guillaume Wafo-Tapa or Janse, then Matignon will tie with Brad Nelson for Player of the Year. Meanwhile, in the Rookie of the Year race, Janse is still alive, and I can see him just outside. Hi, Lova. Congratulations, well done. With assorted Swedish superstars, Kenny Oberg standing by. I imagine this is the Swedish enclave for semi-final matchup technology, because they already know it's Guillaume Wafo-Tapa coming their way after lunch. Have a good lunch. Plenty of calories, plenty of blood sugar intake. That's my advice on that one. So Paulo needs 2 wins. Nelson already knows that Matignon's through to the semis, so there will be at least one more round where Brad cannot be crowned as Player of the Year. But he would dearly love to see Paulo Damo Rosa gone here, even though he's tremendous friends.
Yep. He's working the voodoo doll. He's obviously working it very hard.
Soon is the time for Paulo to lose if you're Brad Nelson. We are underway in Game 4, which Paulo opens with an island. How important is going first in this match? Not particularly relevant?
I think it's always nice to have your that little land advantage. But a lot of times these games come down to cards, so
the extra card.
The extra card probably evens that out over the long course of a game. No one's going to come out to an early lead.
So there's Duress, 4 land on one side, double Jace the Mind Sculptor, and Negate is the hand for Randle, who's opened with Celestial Colonnade tapped.
You see Paulo writing down all the cards, so he doesn't have to remember them over the course of the game.
That, by the way, was a top tip brought to you in association with Brian David Marshall and Paulo Damo Rosa. Write it down. It's a really, really good way to avoid mistakes in Magic.
And then as he sees those cards, he'll cross them off, and just sort of sculpt the information he has about Jonathan's hand. He chooses the negate.
Yep, that's fine, says Randle. Now, Randle, of course, has got to be feeling good about life, having started extended day on 22 points and then having to go 6-0. Chatted to him yesterday morning. He said, I'm playing fairies. I said, look, it's a perfectly fine choice. You'll beat some people with fairies. And it turns out that he actually beat a lot of good players.
I saw that you did a deck tech with him last night on the Fairies deck. I haven't
right.
had a chance to watch it yet. How did that turn out?
It was good. I mean, we were sort of chatting also about you know, the UK community and how he's doing. But you know, he beat Brian Kibler down the stretch. He beat Bertil Elfgren in the last round. Earlier in the weekend, he beat David Ochoa and Yuya Watanabe. He drew with Gaudenis Vidugaris, beat Robert Jurkovic, beat Brian Cowell, beat Jan Massacre, beat AJ Saka. You know, he had a pretty decent list, and to be honest, not just. I mean, it's always a great achievement when you make the top 8, but it's fair to say he had a much tougher road than Paulo, for example, in terms of opponent quality through the weekend. He had some serious roadblocks in the way of getting to this position, and now he has to try and make it count against one of the game's greatest.
Well, one of the things I thought was interesting about, and Paulo's landed a baby Jace, by the way. It's his turn to go, one for me, one for me, one for you, one for me. One of the things I found impressive about Jonathan is he did a video several weeks ago for a British website about doing a deck tech on blue-white control. I mean, this was the deck. He's been tuning and tweaking and working on this deck for this event for some time.
That's right, and blue-white control is something that Dan Gardner, the previous national champion, has played to distraction in multiple formats, so there was a real pool of control knowledge. And it's interesting that they've chosen blue-white, which by most conventional wisdom was the deck that was dead because blue-black was just what you played if you were going to play control. Mystifying Maze in play. Looks like 6 cards apiece. There's a mana leak for Paulo. Here comes Leonin Arbiter for Randle, for which mana leak would work, and it looks like that's exactly what Paulo's going to do, unless of course Randle has mana leak back the other way.
I'm assuming he brought the Leonin Arbiters in largely just as creatures. You know, just to have an additional threat.
A guy, 2.
Get rid of those ousts.
Yeah. Continued to feel that bouncing Seagate Oracle wasn't the value.
Both draw.
Let's both draw. There's Randle. I wouldn't want to be sitting across from him. I just have no clue what he was thinking. Preordain at the end there, which is what we're going to see run out. No problem, says Paulo. That's not going to be killing me.
And interesting, you see the mystifying maze there. He can't, he can't. Normally maybe he could play a land and attack with his Celestial Colonnade to try to deal with Jace, but if he taps out to do that, Paulo's pretty happy to tap out and mystifying maze that.
And then gets to untap and off to the races potentially. So the Preordain has resolved successfully for Randle. But he knows full well from the fact that he had Jace Bellerin in play last game that can be a game winner. Paulo has a Spell Pierce, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Grave Titan. There's a Swamper there. Randle is going to go for a matching pairs of his and hers Jaces, which one presumes Paulo is going to have an argument about. But again, he's taking his time just to make sure that's what he wants to do. Maybe he doesn't have that choice. Looking at 6 cards.
I think he's holding a Mind Break Trap. But another Jace, he can also let it go, untap, play another Jace.
Cards.
How many cards? Yeah, he shuffles Mind Break Trap to the front of the proverbial booster, and then sends it away looking at Spell Pierce. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mind Break Trap. And Randle says, sure, off you go. Bonus card from Jace. Preordain.
Nope.
Oh, Inquisition instead. Inquisition of Kozilek. What do we got there? It's full-on Planeswalker action, double Jace TMS, and Gideon Jura.
Interesting. He could have actually played that differently, right? He could have played the Spell Pierce.
Yeah.
And held on to the Mindbreak Trap, but by doing it the other way, he gets to do stuff on his turn and then leave the mana open. He knows that if he's going to tap out for a Jace or tap out for a Gideon, he can Spell Pierce it.
And when you have the chance to spend 4 mana safely.
Edge is an edge.
So the card that matters on your screen right now is that Jace on the left-hand side for Palla Vita Dama de Rosa. That's pretty much the only card in play that really matters right now, though arguably Mystifying Maze. Palla has near-perfect information. Randle will go for Gideon Jura.
Which will be pierced.
It will indeed. Spell rather than pull.
Okay. And here comes
Grave Titan. +2. Randle quickly untaps. Would be hoping for something like Day of Judgment. Has a land. So he has the mana for a Day of Judgment. Does he have a Day of Judgment? No, he's going to go for Jace TMS, which gets rid of Jace Bellerin. But that doesn't alter the fact that there's 10 power guys on the other side of the table. So the life totals are going to change here pretty swiftly.
And Paulo's now able to just play another Jace if he wants to.
Yeah, we are going to be heading for Game 5, I think, fairly shortly.
Sees that the coast is clear on the Inquisition.
Real day. From Randle. Knows that we're kind of going through the motions and getting ready for Game 5.
Leaves them both on top.
See Christopher O'Brien out in the arena, one of the Magic Online Championship players from the United States. I know you had a chat with him over the weekend. Did he enjoy his Worlds experience in Japan?
He seemed to enjoy it quite a bit. He seemed to really enjoy Japan, especially. Like the opportunity to come and travel here. He's going to go see some family in Hong Kong.
Fantastic. We are at 2-2. Palla Vita Dama de Rosa keeps his Player of the Year hopes alive. Brad Nelson loses a little more weight. Scary times. And Paulo goes into sideboard mode. Let's see if we can get a look at the sideboards for these two players, Palla Vita Dama de Rosa and John Randle. Of course, 15 cards. That's what you come in with. Those are your options. As long as you have no more, no less than that, it's 15 or 0. So let's take a look at what we've got. Here is Palla Vita Dama de Rosa's sideboard. The Nighthawks, couple of skin renders, Mindbreak Trap we saw in that last game, a Ratchet Bomb, double this figure. Jace Bellerin, which has just gone on 1 that game. Jace Bellerin, Deprived Duress, the 1 Spell Pierce, Stoic Rebuttal, and Flash Freeze. What does it look like here, BDM, to you?
I think we've already seen Mindbreak Trap, Ratchet Bomb, Jace Bellerin, Deprived Duress, Spell Pierce, and Stoic Rebuttal. He may have brought all of those in. Probably taking out... we haven't seen... I don't know if we've seen the disfigures that were in his main deck. He may have taken out... I don't think he's taken out the Spreading Sea. He's probably taken out the Consume the Meek. And then maybe tweaked his numbers here or there.
Sure. Now, on the other side of the table, on the blue-white side of the board, we have Jonathan Randle. So we'll see if we can get a look at his sideboard for the Englishman. 38 lifetime pro points. There we are. Back on the top, they're shuffling away. Top 8 at Grand Prix Birmingham 2008, his local Grand Prix there, and of course national champion that year, so carried the flag.
I find it interesting. I mean, he's really only been playing since 2008.
That's right, indeed. He's pretty new to the game. Here is Jonathan Randle's sideboard.
We know he's brought in the Venture, the Mindbreak Trap, and the Leonin Arbiters. He probably brought in the Negates as well.
Yeah, they seem
for the additional counters.
Pretty good, don't they?
Taking out the Ousts, and I'm not sure what else. I mean, possibly maybe taking down his Baneslayer Angels. I'm not sure. And just hoping to win on the Gideons, and could have like shaved off an Elspeth here, tweaked his numbers, but we definitely know he's brought in that Venser and that Mindbreak Trap and the Arbiters, some number of them.
Okay, so we already know that Rookie of the Year will go to the semi-finals at least because Lovi Janse from Sweden is through. He will face Guillaume Wafo-Tapa in the bottom half of the
all
bracket.
he has to do
Janse.
is to beat Wafo-Tapa in order to win the Rookie of the Year. That's it. That's all that stands in the way.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought it was going to be hard. And then we also know that Player of the Year will go to the semi-finals at least because Guillaume Matignon is there and he needs to win Worlds. But can Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa keep his dreams of Player of the Year alive in a one-game shootout against Great Britain's Jonathan Randle?
Keep in mind, Matignon cannot win Player of the Year.
No, but he can force it to go a little bit longer.
Yes, he can prolong the race.
Turns out 11 months not quite enough. There's Randle. A very genuine person. He was so excited. I talked to him before he won Nationals, sort of with 4 or 5 rounds to go, and I said, you know, you're pretty new to the scene. British Nationals is always a kind of gathering of the great and the good from the dim and dusty days as well as new players. I said, well, you know, what would it mean to carry the flag at what turned out to be Memphis? And he said, you know, I would be so humbled by that and would be just so proud at the same time. It would just be a crowning moment. And to find him in the top 8 here he was just over the moon.
How many players from England have a Pro Tour top 8?
We have John Ormerod from right back in Mainz, 1997. We have Craig Jones, of course, the professor, 2006, Honolulu. And that runners-up was tied for the best ever by a British player. Warren Marsh was the runner-up in Pro Tour Rebels.
So it looks like Randle is contemplating a one-land hand here.
So he's got Glacial Fortress,
Preordain,
negate.
Spreading Seas, Lean and Arbiter.
He's going to keep it.
He is going to keep it.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Big moment.
Nelson's not the only one fretting now, Rich Hagan.
Big moment right now. He found a land. Says here's laying in Arbiter. That was scary. Jonathan Randle, you gambler. A control match, you keep a one-lander on the play. Maybe that's what you need to beat a Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa. I would like to preordain that you do not win Player of the Year.
5 cards? 5.
Yeah, 5 cards. If you want, you can mana leak it. I'll be quite happy to see that.
And he is.
Yep. Paulo says I have the answer, so I might as well use it.
And happily sees that he does not play a third land.
So the Stoic Rebuttal, Seagate Oracle, Grave Titan, Duress, Preordain for Paulo. There's Seagate Oracle.
Plays a stop sign.
Randle could do with a land there. He has. It's Tectonic Edge. Plus, of course, he's got Spreading Seas. Did he not? Did he not draw Tectonic Edge there?
I thought he did.
What am I missing? Preordain resolves for Paulo.
Does John Randle have Tectonic Edge in the board?
He does not, but here is a land. It's Celestial Colonnade.
Definitely saw one on screen. All right.
Perhaps that was from the 5th quarterfinal.
Is it Inquisition or Kozilek?
Yeah, no one expects the Brazilian Inquisition. Mana Leak, Spreading Seas, Negate, Jace, Elspeth, TRL. Again, Paulo jotting it down. Randle doing the same, going, let's make sure I know what he knows that I know. Swedish flag you can see in the background, the blue and yellow.
Looks like the tectonic edge was in Paulo's hand.
Okay. That's potentially tedious for Randle. Somewhere down the line. Manalik goes away. Paulo lays a land, passes the turn.
And is in a position to Grave Titan next turn.
Yes. Which would be a problem for Randle, who again looks like he has not drawn land. Oh boy.
That's 4.
How many cards? I'd like it to be 4. No, it's actually 5.
He did draw. He's got a Misty Rainforest.
Okay. That's 0 for 2 on the land descriptions this game. So, double negate, Jace, Elspeth.
Basically,
Spreading
he's
seas.
hoping no Grave Titan here.
That's a Grave Titan.
Pays the 2 mana for his Arbiter so he can use his fetch land.
Nice. Okay, Jonathan Randle. Pretty soon, I believe you have 2 Day of Judgment in your deck, roundabout now. Your Brazilian opponent cannot counter
Where's
such a
your
thing.
journalistic objectivity?
I'm just chatting to the player on the screen, just as I would to any Venezuelan or Hungarian. I don't know whether you heard that sigh from Randle.
That wasn't Rich sighing.
No, that was Randle sighing.
Gonna attempt Baby Jace here. I'll draw.
Paulo says, sure. Paulo won the race to 6 and has 11 damage on the table right now. Spreading seas from Randle.
Creeping Tar Pit or Tectonic Edge.
Potentially that previous turn he could have cast Spreading Seas to draw a card and then draw into a mana leak for a potential Grave Titan,
but he couldn't sacrifice his Misty Rainforest.
Oh, what a joy to have Lane and Arbiter in play.
It's like, please attack my Jace.
Yeah. Look, I've got a Planeswalker. It's really good. Don't think that's what we're going to see. I think we are about to see an unbelievable semi-final between potential Player of the Year Paulo Damo Rosa if he wins it.
And potential Player of the Year, Guillaume Matignon.
If he wins it, and then the final. With just the small matter of Guillaume Wafo-Tapa and a potential Rookie of the Year, Lovi Janse.
So
Did we mention that we also have the Magic Online World Championship final at lunchtime and the team World Championship, all of which is still to come today?
A lot of hardware to be given out.
$18 each and 2 games each, but I don't think that 18 is going to stay there for very long. Looks like Paulo's going to go for duress, and Randle quickly reveals his hand. The Elspeth's still there, double negate. He's got Venser now, Venser the Sojourner, and land. Away goes Elspeth. No 3/1/1 soldiers for you. Buying you turns. Turn some men sideways. Many men sideways. Smash.
Tokens at Jace. Yeah,
Tokens at Jace. So Randle can put the Arbiter in the way of one of them and let Jace go to 1. That'll give him the chance to get 1 extra. No, he's got in the way of the Titan. Jace has gone. And Randle needs Day of Judgment. He needs it very, very, very badly.
I think he's about to extend the hand.
Celestial Colonnade passes. He has one more turn. I believe the math gives him one more turn. Paulo just raises his eyebrows slightly. What are we tabbing for here? Okay, it's going to be Creeping Tar Pit. Activate.
14.
Pile in. And does Randle have an answer? Well, of course, he's going to Tectonic Edge away.
15.
But 15 damage. Jonathan Randle to 2. And now with the Tectonic Edge, that is not a Day of Judgment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Venser, yes, sure. There's the hand. And Paulo Vita Damo de Rosa, by 3 games to 2, defeats a worthy opponent in Jonathan Randle of Great Britain.
Do you remember when Paulo used to lose in these quarterfinals?
Not so long.
I remember when Paulo used to watch these quarterfinals from Brazil because he was so young and he couldn't afford the airfare.
And I had like more counters.
Unreal. There you see the two players. A terrific run for the Englishman on the right of your screen, Jonathan Randle. Many congratulations to the former champion. Another Great British top 8. Fabulous performance by him. But we will see Paulo Vita Damo de Rosa again after lunch. So he is back for the semi-finals. Oh, BDM, it just keeps getting better.
Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, both on the line. Level 8 on the line for Guillaume, Wafo-Tapa. Oh, yeah, the little matter of the World Championship title. The Team Championship on the line.
Magic Online coming right up. Unreal. Let's go through the bracket. This is how it worked. Paulo Vita Damo de Rosa against Jonathan Randle. We have just seen Paulo Vita edge it out. And I'm pleased for John that it wasn't a 3-0 sweep.
Absolutely.
He was ahead. He battled hard. Played well. Great. Come back bigger and stronger in 2011. Paulo, on he goes.
In the other end of that bracket, Eric Froehlich was supposed to be a favorite over Guillaume Matignon. He was my pick to win this event, but he went down 3 games to 1 rather quickly to Guillaume.
Yeah, I would assume that there is some element of bad luck in that. Not entirely, obviously, but,
Sure.
you know, one feels... Of all the decks here, explosive, apart from Lova Janse, is not a word we're going to be using that much about the decks here. But you would have thought that was the possibility for Eric, and it seems like that just never happened. We saw a couple of games in that one, and you know, it wasn't exciting. It wasn't a great showcase for what is a very good deck.
Right.
That's the top half. That means Paulo Vita Damo de Rosa will play Guillaume Matignon. The bottom half, Guillaume Wafo-Tapa took on Lukas Jaklovsky. This was the straight-out blue-black mirror. And we kind of felt on play edge, you would give it to Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. Whether it was play edge or just card quality in the end,
Sure.
That is certainly how it resolved.
Superior Memora siding.
Yeah, memory side, your memory side. I can see Guillaume Matignon out in front of us. Looking forward. He's making assorted symbols involving slit throats. I'm not quite sure what that's about. But maybe it's him, because I spoke to him at the very start of the weekend, and I said, so here we go, big weekend for you, player of the year, France win the national championship, you're the world champion. He's like, I feel really ill. I'm not winning
Do you
anything.
remember what he said he needed to do
Yeah,
to win this?
I do. There were 3 things. There were... France has to do really well in the teams. They did pretty well. I have to win the world title. Yeah, he's still on course. And 3,
He needs to win the Brad Nelson falling in a hole championship.
there were not many holes here in Japan. The roads are pretty good, but
Yeah.
it turned out Brad Nelson fell down a hole.
Yeah, he did.
So that is why Matignon is still in. And we have Guillaume Wafo-Tapa over Lukas Jaklovsky. And then, didn't see much of it, but Lova Janse of Sweden, 3-2 over Chris Wolf. And I do again want to say what a terrific effort by Chris Wolf and all the Austrian team as a whole. I don't know what it is about Austria. You think of Helmut Sommersberger, multiple Grand Prix winner and Proto top 8 man. outside him, you don't instinctively think of Austria through the year as having a ton of good players. And then Worlds comes around, and all of a sudden, you've got 2007, they're in the World Championship team final. 2009, David Reitbauer in the World final, the Austrian team in the top 4, missing out in the semis. Here, Austria played in the last round. They could have been in the top 4. Here's Chris Wolf into the top 8. Gavrilovic played in the penultimate round, got defeated by Randle.
Sure.
Just...
Let's not overlook Sweden, though.
No.
Sweden's we've been seeing the sushi that strikes back near the top tables for all year long. It started with Bertil Elfgren wearing the hat going into the last round of San Diego. We've seen him at the top tables throughout the year. We've seen it near the top tables throughout this event, and Sweden has put together some very impressive finishes. We've got 2 top 6 teams from Bertil, and now Lovi Johnson is in a position to shock the world here, win the Rookie of the Year title, and possibly have just the right deck for what the remaining control decks in the semifinals.
So the matchup will go Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa, Brazil, blue-black, against Guillaume Matignon playing
Blue-black.
Guillaume Wafo-Tapa playing
Blue-black.
against Lovi Janse playing
Giant Cthulian monsters.
Yes! It's pretty exciting. Are you hungry for more? Well, we're hungry for lunch. So whatever time it is with you around the world, it's time